Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. This is Tom Lane, the Vice President of Sales for DM2 Software, and I'd like to welcome everybody to our What's New in DM2 and Did You Know webcast. Today presenting will be Roxanna Bryant, our VP of ABS, Advanced Business Solutions, and Chris Lemonier, our Vice President of Technology. Chris and Roxanna will be giving a combined presentation that recaps the highlights of their What's New in DM2 and Did You Know 2010 Connections user conference presentations. A few housekeeping items before I turn it over to Chris and Roxanna. Everyone is on mute. If you have any questions, you'll notice that there is a chat window. You'll see a section that says type message here. If you have any questions during the course of the webcast, please type them in and I'll be monitoring that. And then the other thing I'd like to point out is this session is going to be recorded. We will send everybody a follow-up message with the link to access the recording so you can review it at your leisure. And then we are also going to send out links to show you how to get to the full presentation material that was given at the user conference. We've got a lot of material to cover, so on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Chris and Roxanna. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is Chris Lemonier. As Tom said, I'm the Vice President of Technology for DM2 Software. And with me today, my partner in crime is Roxanna Bryant. And we're going to be walking you through sort of a consolidated or concise overview of some presentations we did at our user conference this year. We're going to start off by talking about some general things that are going on inside DM2 regarding our involvement with Sage, as well as some new things that are happening with the product, and look at some new technologies that will be coming down the pipe here in the next little while. After that, after I bored you to tears with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roxanna, and she's going to get on to the more exciting things, which is showing you some really cool new features that we brought into the software. We have added, over the last few years, hundreds of new features. So what we had to do is boil it down to some things that we thought were high value and some things that you would enjoy seeing. So without any further ado, I'm going to start going through the technology portion of this webcast. The first thing we're going to discuss is something called the Sage Product Advisory Council. DM2 has been selected to serve on the Sage Product Advisory Council, or the Sage PAC. The Product Advisory Council itself is a dedicated group of partners and people that work with Sage software that are involved in the product planning and the development process to actually bring feedback into the new products that Sage works on. So as most of you know, we partner up with a company called Sage Software to build the accounting piece that we build the petroleum package on top of. And the PAC group itself allows us a more direct communication into Sage Software's development cycles. We also get to participate in beta and control releases earlier. We get to expose to their development timelines earlier, and it allows us to also have a direct line of communication related to product enhancements, so we can better voice your concerns and the things that you'd like to see in the software with Sage. In the past, we've always had a great relationship with Sage. We've always had the ability to communicate with them, but this is a more direct channel, and it's quite an honor for DM2 to be selected. Sage has a number of resellers, quite a few, throughout the world, and to be picked to be on the Product Advisory Council is a relatively exclusive small group. So we're real proud of this, and wanted to let you know that our relationship with Sage continues to grow and be stronger as we move forward. Next thing I wanted to touch on was Sage Extended Solutions. Basically, Sage has a set of add-ons for MAS that they make available to the resellers called Extended Solutions. A lot of you have these add-ons on your system now, and they provide additional small to medium functionality. So this is things that are smaller than a module, but are really aimed at enhancing a particular feature, adding batching maybe to a place that doesn't have batching, those kinds of things. In 2009, Sage decided to no longer sell and support the Extended Solutions products. They will be incorporating a lot of those things into the core software over the next series of releases, but they will be stopping charging maintenance, and they're no longer available to do development on those platforms. What they did do was open source the code that runs those extended solutions and made that available to the reseller channel in the master developer community under our existing agreements. So what that's given is given DM2 access to about 85% to 90% of the extended solution source code that was used to build those extended solutions in the past. The solutions are no longer going to be sold by Sage, and we're free to integrate the source into our core products at our discretion. So what's nice is it's going to give us a whole library of enhancements and things that we can bring in and bring technologies to you guys and enhance those for the petroleum industry, where before there were some restrictions about what we could and couldn't do with those. So we're very excited about that portion of it. Also, the remaining 10 to 15%, which are the big sellers, they're things that they sold a lot of through the channels, these add-ons, are going to be incorporated in the core MAS 90, MAS 200 product line starting with 4.4. So they're going to be taking like I said, the heavy sellers, the big features, and bringing them in just as standard features in the core software. So very exciting thing going on. We're looking forward to being able to bring those extended solutions and select extended solutions into our core product and making those available to you going forward. Next thing I want to talk about is a new technology that was released in 4.3 called Business Insights Explorer. Roxanna is going to discuss that in a little more detail than I am here, but I just wanted to tell you what DM2 has been doing with it. In 3.7.1, Sage introduced something called the Business Insights Dashboard, which is a web page that allows you to put KPIs or key performance indicators for your business on those web pages and then view them sort of in real time. So this dashboards update as data changes. Maybe it's your top customers or your top products. It might be things to do with the general ledger, that kind of stuff. But it's relatively fixed. So other than being able to turn specific tools on and off, you're sort of limited to what Sage provides you, but it's really good stuff. And if you haven't had a chance to look at it, you really should. It meets a lot of the requirements we find for people that are talking about having dashboard key performance indicators. In 4.05, they introduced Business Insights Reporter. And for those of you who have been on the Sage products for a while, you may be familiar with a tool called Report Master. It was a tool for users to generate reports easily and have those added to menus and things to allow you to create your own custom reports. As most of you know, as we've been progressing through the system, all of the reports inside of MAS are migrating up to Crystal. So each report, each listing is being moved up into the Crystal architecture, and Business Insights Reporter is essentially a replacement for Report Master. It actually asks you very similar questions regarding selection criteria, formatting, fields you want, data tables you want, and constructs a Crystal report and a front end for that for you, and then allows you to put it on the menu. A lot of people I found don't know that that exists, but it is a great tool to get started, and then of course it builds a Crystal report. So if you're a Crystal expert or a Crystal expert wannabe, you can have it build the report for you, and then you can go in and tweak it however you'd like to add more functionality to it. But in 4.3, they introduced Business Insights Explorer. Now this is really much larger tool than the other two. It has a lot more capabilities, and a lot more things it can access and bring into your view. So what is it? It's a high-performance, powerful, real-time analytics tool. If you want to think about it, it's very similar. It actually looks like Outlook, where you actually have, on the left side, you'll have some selections that you can make, and then it has panels with drill downs on the right. But it's more like what you'd see in Excel, where you have columns of data, and then you can create graphs and things on it. So it's a pretty exciting tool, and Roxanna is going to touch on it a little bit more during her portion of this presentation. But you can make spontaneous inquiries. You can drill down within critical data and conduct detailed analysis all the way down to individual transactions. Provides direct access to the MAS functions. So for instance, if you're looking at accounts receivable data, you can go right into customer maintenance from there. It has easy-to-use graph capability, supports saving those views off. Data can be exported out. And probably most importantly, it's included free with your 4.3 upgrade. So there's no extra cost there. It's just during the upgrade you'll get that enhancement. So what DM2, some of you have begun using this tool, those of you that are on 4.3, And so what DM2 has been doing is adding to the Business Insights Explorer our own fields and our own data tables so you can begin to use those. By default, you get all of the Sage built-in tables, access to customer data, inventory data, accounts payable data, all those kinds of things. But people have been kind of clamoring for DM2 to bring its own petroleum-related fields and tables to the Business Insights Explorer. So, first of all, DM2 has added many fields to the standard Sage tables. Some of those fields don't automatically appear in the BIE views, but they're already there. So if you go into Access Business Insights Explorer, the data elements are there but need to be added into the BIE view. So this is only DM2 fields in the Sage table. This is basically how you go through it. You open BIE on the Edit menu, select Column Settings, you add a button. It's real straightforward. Expand the view and select the DM2 fields you wish to add. So DM2 has fields, for instance, stored in the accounts receivable invoice history detail lines. Now you can access those data elements, things like taxes and stuff, and bring those into your actual analytics that you're doing in BIE. In addition to that, we added some tables. So these are the DM2 tables themselves we've added into the Business Insights Explorer. We added our fuel cost tables, the discounts, our tax link file, which people use. It was designed to do tax reporting, but it's so comprehensive of everything that happened with a transaction that more and more people are using that FTZ tax link file for just general reporting. Tax exemptions, some dispatch schedule things, bill lating history, and a bunch of card lock information. So those tables are now available in VIE in our latest version, and it is retrofittable, so you need to contact us if you need these added back into your system if you're already on 4.3, but the newest versions of 4.3 have this out of the box. Now another technology that Sage added to the core system in 4.3 is Sage Paperless Office. Basically, it's Sage's included paperless storage solution. It's integrated into the mass modules, supports emailing and faxing documents. It's really a great solution if you're tired of printing your journals and filing them, your journals and registers, and filing them in your filing cabinets. It really works well for that. We have a lot of customers using it. The files are stored as an industry standard PDF, and once again, most importantly, free with your 4.3 upgrade. So this is an integrated paperless system for document capture. There's quite a few documents in the systems that you can actually store out of the box. These are some of them. Purchase orders, vendor returns, your sales order invoices, accounts receivable invoices, your journals and registers, period end reports, and all the standard reports generated by the system, including those generated by Business Insights Reporter. So it's a real nice add-on and tool that's available to you that comes with your 4.3 upgrade, and it's a great way to begin to dabble your toes and really look at using paperless and what it would mean to your particular office situation. Now, one of the things we've been getting a lot of requests for is for DM2 to add some of our documents, key documents especially, into the Sage Paperless Office. So today I'm talking, or at the user conference I announced that the first set of DM2 standard reports are now available with Sage Paperless. They support all the standard functionality and behavior of the paperless system. So everything that the normal paperless system can do, DM2's documents support. So we've added the top 6 Petrolink reports from the menu. These are what we call compliance reporting reports, and those are available to paperless now. The bill lating update journals, which help you with an audit trail. The bill lating reports themselves, which provide compliance reporting. The card lock update journals and the audit trail. The tax reports, and the blending and repackaging update journals. These are the ones that we got the largest requests for to add to our system. This handles some very basic document storage and things. It is not a scanning capture system. It doesn't do some of those kinds of things. But for capturing documents generated inside mass, it's really, really good. And it does use, as I said earlier, the industry standard PDF format, which allows you to then later bring that document into a newer paperless system if you want, or just use those documents outside of the Sage software. We do have some other offerings. Roxanna's going to mention that I think she's doing a little bit of a comparison with our other system, which is the DM2 paperless solution, which is a little more robust and handles external documents as well as Sage documents. So what I want to talk a little bit about now is our road ahead, or where DM2 is headed. One of the things we've been working very hard on is doing some things behind the scenes to make the software more capable, more robust, and easier to maintain, and to address some of the costs with custom programming and with upgrades, those kinds of things. So I wanted to talk about a little bit about our vision of how we see our involvement with the petroleum industry on this roadmap, and talk about some innovations that we're doing that may not be clearly visible to you because you sort of use it and it kind of works like, you upgrade and it kind of works like it did before. But the reality is there's major changes going on under the hood. So first, our vision. DM2 really wants to be at the center of the petroleum universe for your business, for the jobbership, for the petroleum distribution business. We want to cover all of these different areas: general accounting, card lock, lubricants, fuels, heating oil and propane, C-store retail. So we want to provide robust, available solutions to you that handle those areas in the relationships that those areas have with other vendors. So one of the things that DM2 is very open about is our working with best-of-breed partners who handle areas that integrate and fit into these areas, into these different segments of your business. So we're very open, very technology open with these guys to provide data exchange, to provide data capture, to provide that symbiotic relationship that you're looking for. So our vision is to be open. It is not to be a closed system. It is not to be all things by ourselves. It's about partnerships and working with you to provide the best-of-breed solutions in these different areas. One of the other things we've been very focused on is bringing your office together. So when I talk about our vision with our vendors, we're talking about your relationship with your major oils, with your customers, those kinds of things. So that's outside of that circle. Those are those relationships that you have to maintain to make money and do business. But also within inside your organization, we've been very focused on how do we bring the different departments, for instance, your services department, your sales department, your financials, payables, receivables, all those kinds together in one system under one umbrella to give you a unified experience of using the software, to give you a unified communications tool, as well as to give you a 360-degree view of your customer and what's going on inside your business. Maybe sales knows something about an account that your customer service people don't know about. That's not good. I mean, in the 21st century, customers are expecting that data is available and readily accessible to everyone inside your organization. Every customer is important, and they need to feel important. And one of the ways to do that is by knowing everything about them and sharing that information corporately. So that's a major thing that we're focusing on, and we're working with Sage and with our products to bring that communication level up. An example is we've introduced a new CRM product that Rox will touch on for a minute that brings the sales force back into the business. Instead of the sales guys being out in the field, having communication with the customers, those kind of things that no one else in the organization is really familiar with, it brings that communication back in and makes it part of your tribal knowledge for your entire business. So what are we doing to sort of work down these paths behind the scenes? So that brings us to the innovation section. So the first thing I want to talk about is something the industry terms as OOPS. I know at first it sounds like a mistake, but in reality it's one of the glorious acronyms that proliferate the technology community. It stands for Object-Oriented Programming Standards. Now that's a lot of gobbledygook that programmers like to talk about. They like to talk about this term called polymorphic object development and all these goofy things, but what does it really mean? So let's pare it down to something that makes sense and it shows you the value of why we would be making this effort. First of all, how is software written if you don't use the OOPS standard? And this is the way DM2 has been doing this for 20 years. Basically, you have a Sage program that Sage has developed, and then we open that program up and add our enhancements inside the program. So you can see that we have the Sage program and then the DM2 enhancements within the Sage program. That relationship provides some real value. One of the things it does is give you a unified, what they call, user experience. It gives you so that our programs look like Sage programs. Our programs operate like Sage programs, and you can't really see where the line is between DM2 and Sage. What does that really mean to you? What it means is that it lowers your training costs. People are familiar with the user interface experience inside Mac. Accept buttons are where you expect them to be. Windows work the way you expect them to work. But the downside is every time Sage makes a change to the program, DM2 essentially has to re-engineer all of our changes into their new program. So it increases the amount of time and the amount of cost that's involved with us maintaining our enhancements inside the Sage program. This thing actually exists for custom also. So when we modify a program for you, those enhancements have to be redone each time you upgrade, and the DM2 changes its programs or Sage changes its programs. They all have to be redone. So the alternative is to take an object-oriented structured approach. Basically, the system is designed in layers. So there's a user interface layer, there's a business logic layer, there's a service layer. Those layers together work to provide your experience with the software. But what's nice is those layers can be changed without affecting the other areas in the software. And that same approach expands to custom, our Petroleum Insights master product and the Sage product. So basically, those different layers work together and can be exchanged out. So if we need to make a custom programming modification or change our core software, we don't actually have to touch the Sage programs. That improves the quality of the software, it lowers the cost, and it provides you a little faster response time to improvements in the software, those kinds of things. The reality is that your experience of this doesn't really change anything. So as you're using the software, you don't experience it differently. It's just behind the scenes, the programs are rewritten. They're actually completely rewritten from scratch and provide this new functionality. So the primary benefits of the object architecture is it allows layers to be replaced with minimal impacts in other layers or other programs. So it makes custom programming easier and faster, it lowers your TCO, your total cost of ownership for upgrades. External object access follows the business logic. What it means is that we support easier interaction with other third-party add-ons. This architecture is an industry standard in software development, and we can easily communicate with a third-party vendor, whether it's a major oil or whether it's a hardware provider for your truck automation or what have you. We're able to work with them more openly, which is DM2's vision, in exchanging data and providing that support. It lowers that development time, makes things easier on their side, and makes things easier on our side. The other thing it will allow is customer-applied service patches in the future. One of the things that Microsoft has done a good job of is getting people used to patch updates on their computers. I think Microsoft issues one that feels like every day. But basically, in the future, and we're running some tests of this now, you will be able to apply your own service fixes and updates as they become available. So instead of having to wait and contact support or get an upgrade, you'll be able to download those patches and apply them yourselves. That's a major, it will help us internally with our support response time, as well as help you avoid actually running into the problem in the first place. So the first person that discovers an issue that we fix, we can push this out to all of you guys, and you'll never experience the problem. So it's a real advantage, and it's one of the benefits of the object architecture. So that's one of the 10 poles of a particular term I'm going to introduce you to in just a second. Another 10 pole is the crystal-based standard reports. We're migrating all of the reports in the system. Sage has already done most of their modules over to a crystal-based report architecture. That's going to allow you to modify the reports. It provides some web posting capabilities and some other things, but we're moving all of our reports in the systems over to it. So that's another one of our 10 poles of this particular integration and project. We also are providing some advanced customization functionality which allows you to add and modify screens, create new fields in the database, add new tables to the database, and create workflows based on user-defined fields and tables. So this is a whole new capability that your IT group or your internal sort of whiz kids can take advantage of to actually customize the system even more than they've ever been able to do in getting it to fit your needs without even having to come to DM2 to actually do that. So a real nice additional feature, and that is another one of the tent poles. Those things together make up what we call the framework. So when we talk about going forward, that our module is in framework or this thing is in framework, that's what we're talking about. It supports Crystal, has the object backend, has the customizer support for you. The framework provides a number of benefits: stability. The index files in the system are removed. Any of you who may have experienced this idea of your index file had to be rebuilt, well, there are no index files in the framework modules. So that all goes away and provides a lot more stability. Another thing is WOOP, write once, use plenty. What we can do is consolidate particular pieces of the software into one particular code line. So for instance, how we calculate taxes can be written once and used all over the system. The previous versions before 4.05 actually had the taxes calculated in 14 different places. So you can imagine that every time we made a modification, because there was a tax change or an enhancement that needed to be made, we had to write it in 14 different places and make sure we had it right and retest it. In 4.05, it actually exists in one. So a lot of advantages to the framework, and bring that more and more into our other modules as we move those up into the framework structure. Faster development, we don't have to reinvent the wheel each time. Our custom and development is only done. We only have to modify our code. We don't have to touch any of the Sage code or our what we call masters, our core system. Customization, no two companies run their businesses the same. So this provides your ability to customize the system and modify it. Makes it much easier for us to respond to your needs if it's beyond the scope of what you can do, as well as provides you a lot of tools for customization. Third-party partner integration, the industry term is an open API. That's the application program interface. That's what we share with, that's a little document we share with our other vendors and other suppliers to tell them how to make sales orders, how to read customers, and those kinds of things. So other Sage master developers and your other software vendors. So DM2 is on the move to framework. We've begun that process a couple of years ago, basically rewriting our modules and moving them up. It started with the 4.3 development, and that's in framework now. The modules that are in framework now are General Ledger, the DM2 Sage General Ledger, and the DM2 enhancements to General Ledger, the sales order system, accounts receivable, the accounts payable, and our C-Store retail package called StoreLink. So to give you an example, StoreLink was, because we're doing some heavy development in our retail side, we went ahead and moved it completely up to framework where we actually integrate into the MAS system itself. So the StoreLink module inside of MAS has been completely converted. I said the 4X architecture, but that's the framework architecture. We've begun the process of rewriting all of the StoreLink code itself into ProvideX, which is inside that framework. It's the language we use. First screen we did was StoreLink. So to give you an example, this is the old store manager. It existed outside of MAS. We couldn't really bring it inside MAS because we didn't have the framework architecture. Since we've rewritten our StoreLink piece inside MAS to framework, we've been able to completely redesign that screen. So this is what it looks like now in the new framework. And here's an example. So you can see now that instead of looking pretty different and being outside of the structure, it follows this model and communicates with the system. So this is a very exciting thing for us, and it's going to provide that unified experience for you guys that you're looking for. Right now, we're working on Equipment Manager and Bill of Lading. Those are the two areas that we're converting over, and those are going to have some interesting benefits, but I want to focus real quick on Bill of Lading. So in the existing bill of lading system, large portions of the inventory module were essentially copied. So if you can imagine what inventory does, inventory creates issues, it creates receipts, it creates orders or sales, those kinds of things. We essentially copied a large portion of that into the bill of lading module itself and then modified it to do specifically bill of lading type tasks. So the downside is if defects were discovered or enhancements made to inventory, it was difficult to take advantage of them. So we'd essentially have to figure out what changed in inventory and totally rewrite it inside bill of lading, which caused us not to be able to do some things we really wanted to do. So the new bill of lading framework update uses inventory directly. So we don't actually have to copy that code. Remember I was talking about how we had to put the code inside the program, that kind of thing. We can now, using that API, using that framework, talk to inventory directly. So what are some of the benefits? It will support FIFO, LIFO, or all costing methods inside MAS. One of the big things that we've been asked for is the ability to have FIFO, and this will really enable that. So that's a major benefit that we get. Bringing FIFO to bill of lading was going to be a huge rewrite of the underpinnings of bill of lading. So this is something we're really proud of and very excited about. Bill of lading will become more stable. It's one of our top support issue generators. Of course, bill of lading, a heavily used module in your businesses, most of you. So it doesn't surprise us that you'd have some issues there. But it is our top support issue generator, and we really want to make it more stable for you, make your experience better. And it will provide a platform for much needed enhancements that we need to do going forward. So one other technology I want to talk about before I hand this over to Roxanna is SQL Server. Everybody, or most people, are familiar with Microsoft SQL Server. It is a database. That's really all it is a type of database on the back end, or where the data is stored. It's a series of tables. So right now, accounts receivable data, for instance, is stored inside MAS. You could theoretically, or if you were running SQL Server, actually have that data table stored inside of SQL Server. So one of the things we've been looking at is what's the future of SQL, how can we use it inside of our products, and what kind of advantages can we bring to you. So first of all, DM2 is not a stranger to SQL. Our StoreLink module, our DM2 SQL Intelligence System, and our SageCRM module all run on top of SQL Server 2005 to 2008, but 2008 is the latest version. So we have a lot of experience in this area. We've been using that tool for years and understand SQL Server, understand how it fits into the modules. What we're very excited about is that we're beginning a process of moving to where MAS 200 ERP, or the core MAS system, would also be available on the SQL platform. So Sage is currently beta testing a SQL version of MAS 200. It's one of the benefits of the framework migration is the ability to change out the database. So we're watching that very closely, and because of our Sage Pack membership that I mentioned to you earlier, we already have access to these code lines, and we're beginning to take a look at them. DM2 is working on making all our modules available on the SQL Server in addition to the native database. So it's a choice that you can make if you want to stay on the database you have now, because that's working for you and it does everything that you need. You can do that, or in the future you will have SQL Server available to you as an option to use for your MAS 200 database, which is something that we hear more and more from larger organizations who want to do some additional things through their IT group, as well as small organizations who like the robustness of SQL. So that will be an option available for you in the future. And as a direct benefit of the framework architecture. So that's why we're working, or one of the reasons we're working very hard on moving our modules up to framework and making them available in the core architecture. So we're at the beginning of that process, but we're on the road and we're moving ahead. We've, like I said, we've been moving our modules over. We moved over our StoreLink module. We're working Equipment Manager literally as I speak on the phone, and bill of lading, and we should have those ready here in the next little while. So we're very excited about that, and we're very excited about these architectures and the things that they're bringing to the table through our relationship with Sage and our own internal development. But that's enough of that. I'm going to turn it over to Roxanna so that we can talk about some new features that have been added to the software. So that's core architecture, that's core foundation. But what have we been doing with it? What are we doing with that technology to make it available to you and to give you some new enhancements and features So Roxanna does an extremely popular session at our user conference called Did You Know, where she basically says, did you know stuff? And she'll take you through some of those features and enhancements that are available in the software now in our latest releases. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rox.
Good afternoon, everyone. I tried to get Chris to talk a little slower so he would take more time, but dang, he didn't. No, leave the clock here so I know. Okay. Wow, there's a lot to cover. You know, we've been very busy, always are, in adding a lot of new features to our system, and it's always hard for me to try to identify which areas I'm going to show when I do this presentation during our users conference. And in that one, I think this year I had, what, an hour and a half or something like that, and I had to talk very fast and still barely got through it all. So I've tried to pare this down. There's just so much that I wasn't able to include. I just had to go through and kind of pick a few key areas, you know, so hopefully maybe you can, you know, get with any one of us, and if there's particular areas that you have interest, needs, or whatever, you know, give us a call and you might be surprised. We've already done it. So let's start this marathon. Okay, some of these areas that I'm going to touch on, Chris covered a little bit in his presentation. I'll just expand on it. You know, so he touched the outline, and I'll try to show you some of the flash and dash of them. SageCRM, big area to us. Our system has always been the back office, and as Chris was saying, one of the things that we're looking at and trying to work with everybody is trying to improve communications company-wide, and that includes the sales reps talking more with the back office. So in our mind, SageCRM is the beginning of maintaining that long relationship with your customers. You're able to take it from the prospect all the way to the customer and beyond seamlessly. So everyone within your company is able to see all communications. It's the total customer relationship. So if I get a call, you know, with some type of an issue, I'm able to go back and look, you know, what type of communications with the sales rep, with anybody else in the company, and management's able to see that full exposure of everything as well. The key also is it's fully integrated with Mass 200. Oh yeah, and it's got this really cool telephone feature in that, you know, I'm sitting here as a customer rep, or, you know, anybody in your company, customer calls up, and if they're in the system, which being fully integrated they would be, their company name and everything will pop up, and it'll take me to a particular screen that I always like to be in CRM, so I can start taking notes, open up a case or whatever related to why the customer is calling. Okay, key features, sales automation. It helps us to effectively manage, forecast, and report all the phases of the sales cycle. And we have a complete pipeline, so as management and so forth, we're able to see what our whole team is doing and click on any particular area and see what customers' opportunities or whatever are in there. Automation of marketing, campaigns. One of the key things is kind of drilling down, how do you market, how do you go out and sell your product? There's probably some processes to it even though you don't think about it. But within SageCRM, you're able to do those marketing campaigns and have it do some of it automatically, such as sending emails or brochures or what else out to your customers, and you're able to track the results. You know, how many called back, how many have progressed on into perhaps becoming a customer. Customer care, it gives us the opportunity to you know, work with our customers on any issues. You know, a common one we always see, and hopefully it's not common, is, oops, I gave them the wrong product, or, oh, I just dumped all of that fuel into their basement, the wrong fill pipe. You know, so as those things happen, they call us in, you know, a little bit of a panic. We enter it into CRM, and we're able to track it all the way through to, you know, hopefully a happy customer but we filed all of the, documents and everything else that we needed to. All of that can be maintained within CRM and workflows. And that's kind of going into this issue management. And I mention workflows because, let's say I'm new and I really don't know when that customer calls up, what am I supposed to do? We just gave them the wrong product or something. I can have a workflow and it takes me all the way through all of the steps to having the end resolution. Okay, I know I need to talk faster or quit talking. And then it's fully integrated with Outlook. So it's two-way synchronization with Outlook. So as I'm sending emails, receiving emails, and so forth, if they're within CRM and I want that information to be synced up, it will do so. Again, I have then total exposure to all communications. Integration with MAS, it's in the different key integration points between MAS and CRM include the customer profile information, ship to, email, phone number, status, etc., key contact information, item and pricing information, and quote and order information, as well as I can drill down on account history, orders, invoices, credit history, things like that. So think of this, how powerful it is. Your sales reps are in CRM and able to see all of this information and no longer have to be traipsing around in MAS 200. So here's the screen. I'm going to take a prospect and switch them into a customer in MAS 200. To accomplish that, they're in CRM. I can click on the customer maintenance. It'll pull up the customer maintenance screen in MAS 200 and populate it with all of the key information from CRM. And keep in mind this is subject to security, so it's not going to be like everybody setting up customers on the fly. Okay. When I'm in CRM, I'm a sales rep. I want to send my customer a quote or an order. Again, I don't have to get into MAS 200 to do that. I can do this within CRM, email it out to the customer, and it's recorded not only in MAS but within CRM. Again, I'm within an opportunity. I'm able to click New Quote. It opens that up into MAS 200, and this can be for a prospect or an existing customer. And I'm able to enter that quote, and then, as I said, send it out. I can automatically generate it on a Word document. However I want to send it out to the customer, with some type of cover letter and so forth. It's going to check my inventory, get the pricing, and everything else on it for me. Also within CRM, as I mentioned, we're able to look at customer history, invoice history, all of that type of information that a sales rep would want to see, items that they have purchased. By clicking on customer inquiry, this familiar screen, it takes them right out there, and they're able to go look at invoices, items and everything from this area. Or, as Chris mentioned earlier, this is the new Business Insights Explorer screen. So in here, they can get there and look at the invoice detail for that particular customer. And as you click on the invoices in the upper portion of the screen, down below, I'm able to see the details of what was on that invoice, including the pricing, the unit pricing extension, and so forth. So we'll look at this a little bit later. And then here's the sales rep pipeline. It's kind of colorful. You click on any one of those segments, and it'll show you all of the opportunities that are being worked on in that particular segment, which is controlled by workflows. Okay, memo management. Memo management was or has been greatly enhanced within the 4.3 architecture and will continue. And before it was a great little tool, we could go in there in AR or whatever and set up some memos, and we had our SI memos that many of you are familiar with and everything, and they served a purpose, but they weren't secure. So with credit and everything, we had some issues, and everybody was always saying, gee, I'd like to see it to be a little bit more powerful. So with Memo Manager, we're able to manage the views. We can maintain where they're at, and we're able to manage it system-wide. Okay, you can define where memos can be displayed or maintained within the software. You're able to specify a default setting for the automatic display of memos within accessing certain tasks. and there's multiple types of memos that can be defined per module. So what does all of that mean? So let's go find out. Okay, this is the new screen. All right, so I'm going to select a module, and this is setting up the maintenance of it. So I'm going to select a module. In this case, I'm selecting accounts receivable. And then from there, I'm going to select a type of memo. For accounts receivable, I have memos that impact customers, sales order invoicing, history, things such as that. Then I'm able to come in and select security roles. So here we are now starting to be able to make memos secure for credit or other reasons. And then I'm able to select the task. In this case, I'm going to do cash receipts. And based on this role, I'm able to say whether I can show the memos, hide them, or allow the user to maintain it. Okay? So here's an example, cash receipts entry. Credit can identify how a payment should be applied for a customer. And by doing so, then when I'm entering a payment for that customer, I can say, I want this memo to auto-display. And based on that, it will then say, oh, by the way, customer, I was expecting, or user, I was expecting this payment from the customer, and here's how I want the payment to be applied to their account, to their invoices. And then I can have them let me know that that payment was received. So in this case, I'm just setting up a memo to specifically pop up for that customer in cash receipts. And it's available based on role, so you know, credit can update it, but somebody else is not able to. So it gives me a good tool to be more efficient in communicating with my cash receipts department on how the payment should be applied. All right, another use is I'm now able to attach documents to memos. So in this case, I can do a credit application, I can attach it, and it's going to be secure because I have security by roles, and so the credit department can have it, they can access it, but yet others in the company cannot. Another would be tax-exempt certificates. Again, I could attach this certificate to this memo, and then I could set it up to remind me when it expires. So in this particular case, it expires December 31st. I've set up a reminder to tell me on December 1st that it's going to expire. From there, I could send a template letter out to the customer and have it come in to us before it expires. And of course, fuel tax accounting will let me know and quit exempting them if we haven't updated their records with the certificate. Crystal reports, as Chris said, they are all throughout the system. All reporting is now standard in Crystal reports. What does that mean? With report options, we can make selections and we can then save them. They can be saved by user, you know, so every time I come back in here, I can run this based on what my selection criteria is, and I can share it either myself or I can share it across the board with other users. Chris refers to this as sticky print and preview. I have yet to ask him, and I probably should one of these days, why. But what this does is, you know, how many times have you gone to run a report and, gee, you know, it wasn't exactly what you wanted it to be, and so after it, you know, comes up on the screen or whatever, you take a look and you go, that's not what I wanted, and you have to go back into the menu, pull it back up, try to remember what you had selected, and run it again. What this does is after either I've previewed it or printed, it will bring me back to this screen so I can make modifications without having to remember what I had done. Then once I have it the way I want it, guess what? Then I can save it. Sweet. Then every time I come in here, it's how I want it. Okay. The other is that Crystal reports can be edited. So let's say I'm running an aging and I want to add a column onto it that's not in the standard report. I can go to my IT department, or if I have authorization to modify Crystal reports, I can make that change. Again, I can save it as my report, and the next time I come in here, I can run my report, and it's designed, selection criteria and everything is how I want it. Special pricing button. How many times have you wanted, again, because of security, be able to go in and set up special pricing within the system easily and quickly, and get to it from where my ship to is. So in AR maintenance, what we've done is we'll go in there and we'll click on the ship to, or click on the down arrow and then click on the ship to, and then I'm going to select ship to, and it's going to pull up my screen. I'm going to enter all of my data. I'm now going to click on this special pricing button that we've added, and I'm able to set up my pricing. So AR, okay, we've just cut out a couple of steps, but I'm still in AR doing that. So here's another place. I'm over in sales order data entry. Okay, now I need to set up a new location. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to enter a new ship to code, and I'm going to enter all of the data for that new ship to, and here I am in sales order. There's the special pricing button. I'm going to click on it and set up the special pricing for that ship to, and we're done. And now I'm able to process that order for that new ship to location. And I didn't have to give that person authorization to get over into AR. All right, Chris talked about Custom Office a little bit. It's a neat feature in that you're able to do a lot of things that we used to have to go to programming for. So you're able to establish user-defined fields, and you're able to establish defined tables that can validate the user-defined values in your field. So one thing, customer types, that was something we'd done years ago with programming. It is now, but think of how we've established that as a valid table. That is something you can do in other areas with Custom Office. And it's accessible in business intelligence. So I'm going to show you, or one example here is an inactive AR customer account. Many times we get requests to, gee, I want to see my customers, but I want to flag them as inactive. How could I do that? With Custom Office, we can add a new field, says inactive. I could put a date in there, and then I can modify my filters or my ALE lookups to exclude any customers that have the inactive flag. It can be done with Custom Office. You don't need us to do it. Here's an example of something we've done with Custom Office. We added this collection tab on AR customer maintenance and all of these fields. Great little tool, but the key is that we did this with Custom Office. Business Insights Explorer. Chris introduced this a little bit ago, introduced in 4.3. Great tool. It's live, and it's information that we're able to drill down in particular areas. We can look at invoices, etc., for a customer and drill down. Now, what I'm looking at here is a collection process. This is, again, a custom one we wrote, very easy to do and explore. But if you look at this area that's now highlighted in the yellow box, you'll see that it ties to that collection tab I just showed you that we did in Custom Office. So having that information set up in Collection tab in Business Insights, I now am able to come over here and as a collector work those accounts that are some type of a pending action is due today. Within there then, as I'm working that account, I'm about to call them up. I can click, right-click, it'll come down. I can select Task, and from here, as you can see, I can go directly to Customer Maintenance. And here I am, so now I have information available to call that customer and follow up on the last collection call that I did. So a little more information here. When I'm in task mode, I'm able to, as I showed you a minute ago, I could go to Customer Maintenance, Cash Receipts, I could enter a sales order, all of those types of things. So as I'm on the phone with the customer, I'm able to work over in Mass at the same time, quickly see the information over in Business Insights. And the nice thing is it does honor security rights. You're able to export the data to Word, Excel, and you can do these cool little graphs. Okay, a couple things in CardLink I'm going to touch on real quick, and I probably should be talking quicker. CardLink Net Sites, what does that mean? I'm able to automate the processing of purchasing the fuel from my net sites in bill of lading. So as I'm going through convert and edit, it's going to create the bill of ladings for us. So That way we're able to make sure we have the product on hand and we don't go in the negative when we're updating the inventory issues that CardLink will generate for those sites. And that allows us to have correct cost of goods and eliminates negative inventory. CardLink pricing only. This is a great feature to run before you update your invoices or before you even run your invoices. It allows you to come out here and automatically start looking at what your margins are based on the transactions that are in what we call CL4 ready to be invoiced. So here it's telling me, oh, I've got a negative margin for this customer on that product. I'm able to drill down on it and go fix it before I'm invoicing. I can also look at what are my average margins by site. So in this case, I'm seeing in Seattle at 6 cents. Everywhere else it's around 18 cents. I can go find out why, correct it before we send invoices out. Another thing we've added is the ability of automating the process of sending a CSV file out to your customers during CardLink invoices, and it's using Outbox as the conduit for sending it. So when I'm now setting up my Outbox selections for document, I can come down here, click on CSV file export, and go into my usual Outbox setups for my customers and select the document type, and then the recipient, as we always do. I'm going to email or fax, and as we always know, we can set up multiple recipients for them, and then that way when I'm sending out or generating my invoices, it will automatically send that CSV file out based on our Outbox setups. Another option we've added is price inquiry with drill down. We've all had our challenges in trying to figure out how something is priced in CardLink. We have a lot of flexibility, and so we're having to try to drill down, however, by pulling the file into Excel or whatever. Pricing is built, from cost. We have many taxes, we have many fees, so there's many components to it all. And what we felt it important to establish an easy tool for drilling down. So with that, we're able to specify our sites, our regions, our products, the date range, and we can view either current or historical information. Current means it's in CL4, its current period. Historical means prior periods. We can select a line from the list that comes up for this customer, and by doing so, it then takes us down to this screen, and we're able to start seeing the specific information. What was the cost, what was our margin, what was the fees, everything that made up the price for that particular transaction. Remote cost of goods, it's always been a challenge to us to get the liability to our network, CFN, PackPride, whoever set up in the system, and so we've added a new feature to automate that process. So as we're processing our foreign transactions, it's going to go out there and now push it over to inventory. It will create the cost of goods for us and set up the liability in our GL to a remote clearing. And we're able to track it into warehouses and everything, so for reporting purposes on foreign purchases, and we can use unique product lines for them as well. Gives us better reporting capabilities. Okay, bill of lading, and I'm running out of time. We've added vendor and sequence number, so that allows us to process multiple bill of ladings for the same vendor or other vendors, same bill of lading number, but with the sequence now, we're able to track by date and time in identifying if it's a duplicate. Splash blending, I'm able to go to the rec, pull in product from my supplier, as well as pull in product from my inventory, so splash blending, biodiesel, things like that. Able to do it easily within bill of lading. We've added date-sensitive taxes to bill of lading. I'm just going to skim through a few things here. We've added the ability to do miscellaneous charges and comments right within bill of lading. So it's all automated. I don't have to go into the invoice to do so. Petrolink, here we've just added global fuel taxes. So I can set them all up and run them, update throughout the system, bill of lading and fuel tax side both, and it can all be done prior to the effective date. So it just kind of skim right through there. Daily fuel price report shows me my best buy by regions. So this is a report that eliminates a lot of Excel spreadsheets, and you're able to send it out to sales reps dispatch via email automatically. Wholesale price quotes, we've added an effective date and time, so it goes out and gets the right pricing. If it's 1800, I want my quotes to go out, it will use the right price. And we've just added all of that. Supplier invoices, we've talked about this before. You know, we've got it with ConocoPhillips, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Shell. So we continue to grow in the interfaces that we have with our suppliers. I'm going to quit at this point, and I know that usually an hour is about all that you want to really take out of your busy day and to spend time with us. We certainly appreciate you doing that. We're always excited about showing you the new features or things that we're doing within MAS 200 and DM2. If you have any questions, please do give us a call, anyone within DM2, and we'll be happy to talk to you about any of the things we showed here and or perhaps talk to you about other things that we've added. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. This is Tom again. Thanks, Chris and Roxanna. Great job there. A lot of material to cover. For those of you who weren't at the user conference, those presentations ran about 3 hours total, so we tried to pare it down into an hour. So appreciate everybody's time and attention there. As I said, we have recorded the session, so what we're going to be doing early next week is send out a follow-up email with a link to the recordings. We'll also remind you how to go to our website to access the full presentations from the conference, so you can look at the complete 3 hours worth of material that Roxanna and Chris covered during the conference. And as Roxanna said, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. And on that note, I want to thank everybody again and remind you that we are going to be running regular webcasts each month. We'll be sending out an invitation shortly for next month's webcast, where we're going to be covering the extended enterprise suite version of MAS 90 and MAS 200 with a particular focus on the customer relationship management piece that comes with that. All right. Thank you.